We're really excited to talk with you from a rural perspective now. We'll actually be talking about the Alabama Black Belt, a community overview, barriers, challenges, and paths forward. Our first speaker on this presentation will be Ms. Jasmine Kennedy. In addition to being our clinical research coordinator here at UAB, she is also the facilitator of our Youth Advisory Board in the rural Alabama Black Belt. So she'll give you also some perspectives there. After she speaks, we'll then have Tavis Clark, who will talk with you, who serves as our youth consultant. So again, we thank you so much for being with us this morning, and we know that you'll enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I'm going to turn the program over to Ms. Kennedy.
Hello, everyone. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so I will give an overview. We'll start with a regional snapshot, which will be the key disparities in Wilcox and Sumter counties, including broadband, healthcare, education, mental health, and infrastructure gaps. We will go over youth-led solutions, outreach and action, core focus areas, and a call to action. So what sustainability looks like and how we all can play a role. Next slide. So the physical geography of the Black Belt refers to a much larger region, as you can see on these maps, of the southern United States, stretching from Delaware to Texas. So Tavis and I are located in the West Central region, which is Wilcox County and Sumter County. Next slide. So thinking about broadband, there's barriers, improvements, and impacts. So 3 barriers are infrastructure deficits. So lower rural population densities make broadband expansion unprofitable for private providers. There are huge data gaps. Inaccurate broadband maps have caused some underserved areas to be overlooked. And then we have some major economic constraints like high poverty and low income limit access to devices and internet service. So when we think about some improvements that has happened in the Black Belt around broadband, the USDA, they have the Reconnect program, which awarded $820,000 to expand broadband in 45 Black Belt counties. We had some local cooperatives and nonprofits use funds to address infrastructure gaps, support digital literacy, and offer affordable service options to low-income residents, and more. As far as like impact, we can think about the economic growth that it will bring to the Black Belt, like broadband access boosts rural businesses growth by 213%, and educational opportunities improve internet enables remote learning and closes rural education gaps. So for instance, with our YAB, we would like to do more virtual meetings, but we can't because of the barrier with the broadband. And also when we think about healthcare access, it expands access to telehealth in underserved areas. So transportation, which I will discuss, is a huge barrier in the Black Belt. Next slide. So healthcare and chronic diseases, rural Black Belt counties have fewer doctors per capita than urban areas. Many residents lack health insurance due to Alabama not expanding Medicaid. Again, internet access is limited, reducing telehealth and health education opportunities. And several counties are maternity care deserts with no local services. So in Marengo County, that hospital actually had to close down their maternity care. And I mean, that was a major loss for that area. So Black Belt residents face high rates of diabetes and hypertension. That's huge here. Like UAB has the Epiphany study. So they're here in the Black Belt, and I know Sumter and Wilcox County and Dallas County are a few counties that they work in that for that project here. Prostate cancer rates in some counties exceed 160 per 100,000 people. Cervical cancer mortality is significantly higher among Black women in the region, and poor housing conditions contribute to asthma and respiratory illness. Next slide. So thinking about the barriers and challenges, one of the main things is inadequate wastewater systems. So many households lack proper septic systems, leading to untreated sewage exposure and health risks like hookworm. So UAB did do a study a few years back, and they tested children ages 2 to 18 in Wilcox and Perry counties, and they didn't find any hookworm, but what they did find that many individuals in the area had inadequate wastewater systems. So as far as education and workforce barriers are concerned, we have low educational attainment, teacher shortages. You think about the area, we don't have many resources, so therefore it's hard for anyone who's used to living a certain way. I mean, even just in Montgomery or Birmingham, to want to come to a really rural area where healthcare care isn't that great, broadband and so forth. And then, of course, limited workforce opportunities despite nearby industrial investments like the Golden Dragon that was built some 14, 15 years ago. Black Belt residents often lack access to job training and face barriers to employment due to educational and infrastructural deficiencies. So as far as like disaster response and recovery challenges, we think about like economic, again, high poverty rates. So the Black Belt's average poverty rate is 24%, with all 25 counties ranking among the top 35 highest in the state. Credit scores, and of course, inadequate disaster relief. So residents often struggle to obtain disaster relief due to low population thresholds for assistance eligibility and lack of local response infrastructures. And I'll touch on that just briefly. Some areas like the county commissions, they don't have grant writers. So that is a huge barrier for us when it comes down to applying for funding. Next slide, please. So mental health, limited access to services. Many Black Belt counties lack mental health professionals and facilities, leading to unmet needs for residents seeking care. Of course, we know sometimes there's a stigma and cultural barriers. So cultural stigma surrounding mental health issues often prevent individuals from seeking help, resulting in untreated conditions. So just a popular phrase sometimes that I hear when people have problems is just pray about it. So that cultural barrier and that stigma is there. Economic constraints, high poverty rates, and lack of insurance coverage limit access to mental health services and existing disparities. So some recent initiatives and funding in 2024, 1.2 million in federal funds were allocated to expand mental health and substance use treatment in Jefferson County and the Black Belt, supporting local health centers. And as far as community health center grants, the Rural Health Medical Program, which is is like the core health center that everyone visits here in this area, they received $600,000 to enhance behavioral health services, aiming to address mental health and opioid crisis in the region. Next slide. So you may have heard about it earlier, but our students in the Wilcox County app, they designed an interactive app. And what we did was, in the meeting, we sat down in one big circle. I had one student to guide the computer, and it was a really youth-led thing. And I asked them, like, what would you want to talk about? What would you want to see around mental health? And so they designed a flyer, and that flyer conveyed their message. As you can see on the screen, it has a QR code and is linked to their self-designed interactive app, and they conceptualized it as like a virtual diary. So if you go into the app, it'll ask a few questions basically centered around how would they cope. And I said, okay, well, we can develop these questions, but we need some questions that you will be comfortable with answering every day. Like if you had to sit down and write in this virtual diary, let's come up with some questions that you would want to answer daily. So they developed the app, as you can see, and I was able to partner with the mental health coordinator. So we do have these flyers throughout the schools in Wilcox County public school system, and we're hoping to really do a hard launch of it this fall. Next slide, please. So transportation. So of course there isn't a public transit here in Wilcox County, and I'm sure the same is for Sumter County. Black Belt lacks robust public transportation systems, making it difficult for residents to access essential services like healthcare and employment opportunities. Poor road conditions, that's always like the top of the list at every county commission meeting that I go to. Long commutes, whether it's for jobs or even healthcare. A lot of people struggle to get to their doctor's appointments because of the long commutes. Like, for instance, with pediatric care, you would have to go to Selma, Alabama from Wilcox County, and that's 40 miles away. So if you don't have a car, it poses a big problem. And then last but not least, the lack of infrastructure investment. Political disagreements have delayed infrastructure projects such as the West Alabama corridor, which aims to improve connectivity between rural areas and urban centers. Next slide. So just some brief outline about our school system. So in Sumter County, I do want to give a notable mention to the University of West Alabama that is in Livingston, which is located in Sumter County. Sumter County public schools have 5 public schools, 1 charter school. The total enrollment is 1,006 students, which was the enrollment in the year 2022-2023 school year, and they've had a decline from previous years. But I do want to note that I don't believe that's specifically giving a broad picture of that particular school system, because I know from personal experience, some students just move to different counties, whatever school is more convenient. Again, goes back to the transportation and the commute. Student teacher ratio is 15:1, and diversity is 98.5% Black or African American. In Wilcox County, we actually have 6 public schools, so we have approximately 1,240 students. Student teacher ratio is 14:1, and diversity is 97.7% Black or African American. Next slide. So connecting with the youth, there are various ways that you can do it. But on my end, I chose to partner with local after school programs, of course, building relationships with career tech and health science departments. And, for me, a lot of those teachers I know because I'm from Wilcox County and I graduated from the high school here. So I already had a shared experience and had fostered a meaningful connection with those teachers, and it really worked out in our favor. And also just UAB having that visibility in the Black Belt, I think that also helped when we were trying to recruit students for the YAB here in the Black Belt. And then also attending like community stakeholder meetings, the Children Policy Council, just increasing that visibility really helped with connecting with the youth. Next slide. And now I will turn it over to Tavis.
Thank you, Jasmine. You did a really good job. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tavis Clark, and I serve as a youth consultant with UAB in the Pediatric Pandemic Network. I've been working across Alabama Black Belt region, connected with schools and clinics and first responders to share information on trauma-informed care, as well as programs we have to offer, such as Coaches, Handle with Care, and Coaches City. My focus is on helping underserved communities build stronger systems for youth and families. Next slide. Today, I will be speaking with you all on youth-led outreach in the Black Belt while providing an overview of the program. The program is a new initiative launched through PPN at UAB to improve pediatric emergency readiness and community health equity. The program focuses on visiting the program focuses on hands-on outreach by visiting healthcare, education, and emergency institutions to spread communication and resource share. Next slide. No, go back, I'm sorry. I work with clinics, school, EMS to distribute brochures, hoping to build lasting community partnerships. My goal is to lead pediatric disaster planning and meet mental health behavior health issues by giving out information to different clinics and the Black Belt region, such as EMS, fire, police, and EMA directors. Next slide. Throughout the Black Belt, I maintain 6 counties, which all have high pediatric vulnerability. The purpose of my travel is to identify gaps and screen coordination. Most of these counties are rural with high poverty rates and health access disparities. Next slide. Programs that I share include COACHES, which is a pediatric emergency simulation for rural hospitals and clinics, as well as Handle with Care, which helps schools support students quietly after traumatic incident. Also, COACHES City, which is a sensory inclusion for EMS, school, and law enforcement. These three programs are free and practical, customizable, as well as has a youth voice which is framed through lived experience and real community stories. Next slide. My outreach strategy involves visiting hospitals, clinics, community centers, and health fairs. I make sure that I listen to the community, set up visits within the community, and follow up and track the responses of the community. It's very important to do these things to make sure that the community knows that they are supported and are well taken care of. Next slide. As well as I said, I maintain a presence in my community by visiting EMS, the fire and police, EMA offices, as well as schools. I want to educate staff on trauma support tools and connect leadership with emergency programs. I also ask to review disaster plans such as the fire, tornado, and crisis, and explore any partnership options. I also promote the programs Handle with Care and sensory inclusion and with COACHES City, as well as COACHES. Next slide. PPN speaks on infectious diseases, making sure children are prioritized in disasters, as well as mental health. We make sure that low-income communities aren't left out. We also continue to help schools and clinics and maintain a long-term resilience and support. Doing this makes sure that the community isn't left out and are up to date on everything that is coming. Next slide. Now I'll be turning it back over to Jasmine. Thank you.
Thank you, Tavis. So Dr. Claudette Poole has led several public health related projects and programs in the Alabama Black Belt. She serves on the community engagement domain for UAB PPN Hub, and she's also the medical director for Family Clinic. Next slide. So some of our community partners and mentors who are very important to us and who actually helped us really leverage our work. I'll start with Ms. Cheryl Threadgill Matthews. She's the executive director of Bama Kids Incorporated in Wilcox County. So she actually is over the Wilcox County Family Resource Center. And when I had to pivot very quickly to find somewhere to meet for our YAB meetings, she was very open to allowing us to do so. And she just has proved to be a great partner over and over and over again. Ms. Sherry Bradley, who's the former deputy director of the Bureau of Environmental Services at ADPH and also the director of the Black Belt Unincorporated Wastewater Program. She's a champion around inadequate wastewater systems. And we actually started some work here in Wilcox County and also in Sumter, but due to administration funding was paused. So I'll just tie that in with Ms. Deborah Clark at the Health and Wellness Center of Sumter County. She actually helped me find individuals in the area to assist with the inadequate wastewater systems. And Mr. Ray Morris, who's the Federal Emergency Management Agency and founder of Dads for Special Kids. He proved to be a great partner. We were actually able to use his emergency guide for disaster for children with special needs. Next slide. So when we're thinking about a call to action and a path forward, there are a few things that come to mind. So investing in youth leadership, kind of what we're all doing now with the YAB and Culture City and all of the other programs that we have, strengthening local partnerships. So again, going back to your Bama kids, your Miss Deborah Clark's, advocating for equity and funding. So push for inclusive policy and equitable distribution of broadband, healthcare, and disaster resources in the Black Belt. I think Pat Tavis is doing a great job with everything he's doing within the communities to kind of raise awareness around a lot of those things. Champion trauma-informed approaches, so equipping educators and responders with tools like Handle with Care and SciStart to support children through crisis. And the big thing: listen first, then act. So engaging communities by learning what's already working and co-creating solutions that reflect local priorities. So I always say, giving local individuals that sense of ownership, it always helps when you're thinking about sustainability within an area. Next slide. So that is all for Tavis's and I presentation, and we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you again for a wonderful, wonderful presentation. I think, one of the things I just want to highlight is actually the importance of knowing your community. And Jasmine, you really did a great job of doing that by actually having us, you walking through what the challenges are, what the demographics are, what education is like in those areas. And so we thank you for that. I'm going to go look to see if we have any questions from our audience. Okay. I'm also trying to get the video. Okay. All right. So okay. All right. So we have one question, and I'm going to get us back to Tavis. What barriers do you face when working to connect with community leaders?
Working to connect with community leaders, especially in the Black Belt, you have many barriers. One would be just connecting with community leaders, just trying to reach out with them to get their attention, because we live in a very rural community where it's very small and it's very busy at the same time. So just trying to connect with them, sit down, have a talk, just set up meetings and different things with community leaders, that can be a barrier. And not only that, just getting the support that you need, being able to tell them that this is a problem that we're facing and this is an issue, and it needs acknowledgement. So that could be a barrier, especially in rural communities.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your perspective and your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts about that, Jasmine? What barriers do you face when working to connect with community leaders?
The trust, even though they know you have to really sell whatever program that you're trying to bring to the area. So it's almost like that reestablishment of the trust between you and the community leader that you already know. So I would say that that's always like the biggest barrier when you're trying to introduce a new program, is the reestablishment of the trust.
And both of you, I think the idea of trust is actually incredibly important. Why do you think many communities, in particular rural communities, may have issues related to trust?
I can speak on that one. I would say because, like I said, it's a very small community and many people have different issues, and community leaders get very busy. So with that being said, you have different people that has come to community leaders with issues that not could have just been solved by themselves, but could been avoided by different with other means. So just being able to tell them that this is an issue, and getting their attention is the main issue, and just not them thinking that it's something that they should just turn over and avoid.
Jasmine, anything you'd like to add towards that?
Past experiences is the biggest thing. Like if a university come to an area, they make a promise and it don't fall through, then naturally I don't believe you when you come back, the next time. And they generally, what we see all the time is y'all are just here for research. So, really those past experiences is what influenced that the most, in my opinion.
Yeah. So making sure that, just tying it back to Dr. Baskin's talk, that when we go in, that we go in with things that are important to the community, that the community is invested, that they help us develop the projects, and that we're there and available for the long haul. And so thank you for helping us to think about that, because the trust that, or mistrust that people may have is based on the experiences that they have. We have another question that's directly speaking towards you, and it's about, can you speak to forming the YAB, or the Youth Advisory Board, in a rural community, and how you identified participants?
Yes. So I attended, like, each year, even though our program is like completely different from what we have to go to this career fair for. I attend the career fair at the high school every year. So that was a big drive because we had like so many students come to our table, and I talked to them about the program, and I tried to sell it, and I did. But I think the biggest connection for me was connecting with the health science teacher and another teacher that I knew at the school. Again, me having that shared experience because I graduated from the school. So that was really like my big advantage. And also forming the relationship with the principals. Like when you can go directly to the principal, because like Ms. Marsha said earlier, going to the superintendent is kind of a waste of time because they give everything to their principals to do. So building that relationship with the principals, the teachers, and then a lot of the students just know me anyway. So it was like, okay, I can kind of experience her for myself. Let's see what this is about. So I think kind of showing yourself approved, building those relationships with the teachers and the principal is really how I recruited. And then I also knew a lot of parents. So I sent the flyer directly to parents and was like, hey, if you know any other children, pass this over to their parents. So word of mouth was a big thing.
Thank you so much for describing that to us and for us. I think that's actually incredibly helpful. I think the other thing that this highlights, that I just want to make sure that we mention to our participants, is the importance of having someone from the community to actually run that community program. So rather than those of us who are up in Birmingham trying to run a Wilcox or a black belt program, to actually have it be run by someone who is known by the community, someone who's a key stakeholder such as yourself. So this leads me into the next question, and it's something that you talked about how hard it is to even recruit teachers to the black belt. Can you tell me what inspired you to get involved in Wilcoxon County? Even though you came to the big city of Birmingham to get your education, what made you go back? And what keeps you committed to this type of work? And so I'd love the response from you specifically first, and then I'd love to have Tavis's responsibility, because one of the things that we know is oftentimes young people will leave the communities, the rural communities in which they grew up, and again, take away some of the natural resources that are already present there.
Okay, well, in full transparency, I always had the phrase, if I had to struggle, I would struggle at home. So I decided to come back home in 2016. And, I looked for jobs just to kind of pass through, but then I received my first job working at the local radio station, which was in communication. So I got to see it from another angle, and I'm like, okay, if I leave the community, there's another person who will leave and not necessarily make a difference. And I saw then that I wanted to make a difference. So that's what keeps me here in the area, wanting to make a difference. And I've gained these new relationships that are helping the students that look just like me. Because I said, okay, if I leave, then we'll have hundreds of more students who won't get the opportunity to receive something great like I may have missed out on. I mean, the programs were there, but if you don't, goes back to, I think Nicole might have said something about recruiting diverse students. I didn't just choose students who were interested in healthcare. I chose students who were interested in a lot of different things and thought about how could I make them feel included in this broader picture that we're trying to paint. So wanting to make a difference is what made me stay, and just the charity of it all and giving back to the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Tavis, what keeps you in Sumter County?
Jasmine pretty much hit the nail on the head. Basically being in my own community is very eye-opening, I want to say. So instead of going out to other communities and helping them and making them better, you always want to look back to where you came from and your main purpose of and where it all started. So that's what really made me want to maintain my presence in my community. And like I said, we are in a very small, very rural, low income community, and we all need very well important. It's very important that we receive help. So I want to be a person or a figure in my community that people can look to and say, oh, he's a helpful person, or he had such and such resources. That's what type of person that I want to be and I strive to be. And doing that in my community is very important, especially for what I strive for. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have another question from one of our audience members that says, what advice do you have for youth newly involved in a youth advisory board? And I'll direct that to Jasmine first, and then to you, Tavis. What advice do you have for youth newly involved in a YAB, a youth advisory board?
I would say come with an open mind and don't be nervous. Trust your leader. Like that's the biggest thing. It's almost like whoever is leading you, they become your parent for that hour or that 30 minutes whenever you're meeting. Like trust your leader. And I noticed a lot of my younger students, like the ninth graders versus the 12th graders, they were kind of reserved when we first started, but then they realized how the seniors like talked to me and knew me a little better. So then they realized, oh, I could talk to Miss Jasmine and she'll be relaxed about it. She's not going to treat us like we're these babies. So I would say trust your leader first, and then the comfort, the rest of the comfort, it'll just come. But it's like being in a room with your mom. Like if your mom is there, you feel so comfortable because you got that one person. So trusting your leaders, and that's for all of us who are leaders. Like your students have to trust you. You have those boundaries of I'm the leader, you're the student, but they have to have that comfort and that trust in you, and you can get anything done that you would like to get done. So I would definitely say that.
Well, thank you. Tavis, what advice do you have for youth newly involved in a YAB?
I would tell them to stay open-minded and like Jasmine said, trust your leader. Be open-minded to things that they're telling you. Um, being able to learn new things and want to learn new things. And like she said, don't be nervous once you become part of a youth advisory board. Listen to the information that your leader is giving you and take that information and use it in your everyday life. Because one day you may can use that information to and give it to someone else, and they may can use the information to give it to someone else, and it can spread. So just be very open-minded and considerate to what your leader is telling you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And this also makes me think about what a youth facilitator should be. And so you made me think about it when Jasmine, talked about being able to be like a mother figure or a big sister figure. And that's really important for those of us who have expertise in adolescent health, say like myself. However, I might be perceived as a grandmother, and so maybe not the person to lead a particular group. So for those of us who are interested in this work, please recognize that sometimes, no, most of the time, if not all the time, your best facilitators are going to be people who are relatable, closer to age of the individuals who you're trying to reach out to, and certainly also from the same communities. So recognize that the work doesn't have to be done by you, and sometimes can be done more efficiently and effectively if by people who are closer to those individuals in age. Even if you are still present and supportive, you can do that, but you don't actually have to be that facilitator. We have another question, and it says, what partnerships or practices have you seen that actually last in rural or underserved communities? And what made them stick, or what made them sustainable? And what lessons can be learned from that? So thinking about sustainable partnerships in your area, what's really needed to make these things sustainable?
I would say I'll use UAB as an example. So the relationship that UAB has in Wilcox County is a 30-year spanned relationship. And it really, I think it started off as like proof of concept. And then the individuals that were here, they showed that they were for real and truly cared about what was happening in the area. And it all stemmed back. I'll use the inadequate wastewater and water, that as an example. So when UAB started here, it was around water 30 years ago. So we come all the way back in 2018, and they do another study, but it actually was helping out the students. And then once that was done, testing the children, no hookworm, because all of the parents were very open to see if their child had any sanitation related illnesses. Once that was done, then it was a public health promotion program to expand surveillance around it. And then we got to that point of, okay, we can connect these people to the resources. And we were right there until the funding was, pulled. So I think just showing the people that we do care about the issue at hand, and the only way we can sustain this is if you trust us. So building that trust and just being who you say you are. I think that's the biggest thing. And UAB has proved that over and over and over in Wilcox County. So that's why the university have such a strong relationship. And it's happening now, even in Sumter County with Tavis, and he can speak more, towards that. But I know for Wilcox County, like they took the water thing and they took it and it became this big thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that made that a useful partnership was that the water was a concern of the community. It wasn't, I've got a research project, this is what I want to do with that particular research project. How can you insert yourself in my research project? It was more about finding out what was causing significant morbidity and mortality in that community and what the community cared about. And so thank you for sharing that with us. Would you be interested in Tavis and telling us a little bit about Sumter County and what's happening there?
Yes, ma'am. I can speak on the program that me and Jasmine actually worked with recently called the AmeriQuest program, which served as a community outreach program that looked after the community and was mainly focused on sanitation and making sure that the community had safe and good water, what you want to call it, activities, and just make sure that we have safe drinking water. And the program, it basically focused on community outreach, making sure that we had the resources that we needed. And they used me as a what you want to call it, a outreach person, where I was able to give the information to the community. I was able to maintain my presence at community events, different things, and my awareness throughout the community. That really moved me and let me know that we really have people in the Black Belt that looks out for us and are here for the community and wants to make the community better. And we're not just alone.
So Tavis, you have a very unique role within our PPN here at UAB. And so you're hired actually as one of our youth facilitators. And so
Yes,
that
ma'am.
gives you the opportunity to go out and talk to youth. Why do you think a youth facilitator is necessary, or what advantage do you have over, say, someone older talking to young people about these issues?
I say a youth facilitator is very important, especially when you're speaking to the youth, because for one, you have experience that the youth can relate to, and not just someone telling them, "Oh, I want you to do this, I want you to do that," but someone that can actually guide them through things and they can look up to instead of just thinking that this is someone just telling them to do the right thing. They see someone that's actually doing the right thing and someone that they may want to be like. So being able to give the youth an experience from a personal point of view is very important, especially in today's time where technology is a big change in the world right now. So being able to stay on top of the trends and just different things that's going on in today's generation, youth is very important when connected with other youth members. So
Well, we agree with you 100%. And so we're
yeah.
about to wind down. And what I'd like to actually talk with you all about, or your final words, to be about if you had to give 3 pieces of advice for working with rural communities, what would that look like for someone, again, who's new to working with rural communities? We'll start first with you, Jasmine, and we'll end with you, Tavis. And again, the question is, what pieces of advice, give 3 pieces of advice that you would give to someone who's new to working with rural areas that you think would be helpful to them?
First of all, understanding the lay of the land, learning who the key players are, but also understanding that all the key players aren't always loved and trusted by the community. The third thing would be genuineness and tying trust within that, because you gotta at some point have a heart for it. Like, it can't be anything that, I just want to come in here and I just want to do this work and I want to get out, because people are going to recognize that. Because I always tell people, community members are far more intelligent than you give them credit for. So those are the 3 things that I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you. Wonderful advice. Tavis, what would you like to share from a youth perspective?
My 3 things would be being patient and willing to work with the community. Because everything is not going to happen at just one day or one week. It takes a time, it's a process. So making sure you're being patient, as well as what I said about the youth advisory board, being open-minded and listening to other people ideas and not just giving people your own ideas and forcing it on people. You gotta be able to collaborate with other individuals and share your ideas with other individuals, and it could turn to something bigger. And third, I would say willing to work with others. You have to, it's not just a I can do it by myself thing, because a community is big and it make what individuals in the community is what actually makes up the community. So you have to be willing to work with those individuals in order to get something done. So just staying on top of everything that being patient, open-minded, and willing to work with your community, you will be a very important figure in your community. And just maintaining that presence and letting everyone know that you're here for them.
All right. Well, we really appreciate that. This is going to wind up that responses to the last question will round us up for this particular presentation. We're so grateful to both you, Mr. Clark, and Ms. Kennedy. I do want to let you know that one of our presenters, I'm going to read her comment, but we share the same sentiments. She says, Ms. Newman says, thank you so much to the speakers. There are great things being done. And so we appreciate all the work that you do. We appreciate our partnership with you. And in fact, we consider you all to be essential members of our team. So thank you for joining with us today.